My name is I have a consulting company and I've worked in the online gambling industry for 10 years. And so what I've been doing lately is, for the past few years, is working in the US helping land-based casinos develop their online gambling strategy. And I've taken a particular interest in the social gambling side of the industry because to the extent that regulation bans casinos from participating in online gaming, land-based casinos from participating in online gambling, the interim strategy that I've focused on is social. So I've been meeting with a lot of social gaming companies trying to figure out from my clients, is it best to acquire them, best to partner with them, trying to figure out if there is a B2B strategy to be done. A lot of the social gaming companies have not had B2B strategies because it's more of a B2C industry. And so I've been working with some of the social gaming companies to see what the opportunity is for B2B in this industry, which to date has not been very, very much of anything at all. So we heard a lot about convergence and the potential of convergence in real money gaming and social. And what a lot of people are saying, which is interesting, so a lot of people are saying, I'm social and going into real money, but then the other half said there's absolutely no crossover between social and real money. So I think that confusion will play itself out over time. And so I think hopefully today we're going to hear a little bit more from the real money gaming individuals, and I think Raf, you might be the only, and Bettable might be the only, I don't even call it, well, Bettable is also real money into, social into real money, and Raf also has social and real money as well. So today is definitely focused a lot more on the real money gaming side. And what's interesting is that we have a lot of individuals from Holland. I mean, yes, it is the host country of the conference, but also what's interesting is the timing of Holland. Holland is the next country to regulate online gambling, and there's been a lot of controversy of how that's going to get done. And the interim strategies, similar to what I'm going through in the US, how do you develop an interim strategy for real money, leveraging social? So it'll be interesting to hear about what's transpiring right now for the real money gaming operators, land-based and online, as well as social, and how that convergence will take place. So I'm going to start with the convergence in Holland session. And Willem, I'm going to introduce you. He's the moderator of the panel. Willem has the largest B2B community in Holland. I've known you from the conference circuit. Yeah. And he has a great conference that comes up in June called Gaming in Holland. So I'm going to let you take that away.
Thank you, Melissa. Good morning. My name is Willem van OORT. I'm Dutch. And on behalf of the whole Dutch community, welcome to Amsterdam at Casual Connect. We're talking here today about social gaming and social gambling, new perspectives. Online gambling is a 200 or 300 million market in the Netherlands. Depending who you ask, the number changes. Presently dominated by international operators like PokerStars and others, and mostly operating out of Gibraltar or Malta. The present government has announced it will regulate online gambling in 2015. Dutch arcade operator Krijko, Jacob de Buff, sitting next to me, have 15 arcades in the center of the Netherlands and have now started their free-to-play online activities, last week actually. Krijko announced the activities last week at ICE. At this stage they operate 15 free games, including blackjack, roulette and sportsbook, in cooperation with the Swedish platform provider Tane. The main purpose, and we're going to go deeper into this, is to enhance their brand in the Dutch market, as well as creating a user base that can be used after the online market is regulated. Krijko is inviting social games developers to come and join their platform too, they told me before. At the other side of the spectrum we have Plumbee and its social casino software studio in London. We are extremely happy to have Raf Keustermans here today. Raf used to work for London-based Unibet in the past, so he's well aware of the online gambling industry in that form as well. Also, Plumbee was in the news recently as Dutch TV production giant Endemol invested $13 million in Raf's company. We'll ask him some questions about it during the session as well. Plumbee produced both free-to-play casino games as well as real money games. With more than 300,000 average daily users, Plumbee is one of the fastest growing studios in Europe. So this session is supposed to run until 10:50. We may have people coming in late because the program, there was a small glitch. So at 10:30, I guess the room will be suddenly full of people, and we have to turn down people at the door. But for now we have 50 minutes. The last 10 minutes, I guess we can do Q&A. If you feel there's something relevant we can discuss during the session, just raise your hand and we see if we can fit it in or if it doesn't interrupt the questions at the moment. So I'm just going to sit down now. Join Jacob and Raf here on the stage. And this should work now. Thank you. Jacob, maybe do a short introduction about yourself and Krijko. Maybe also your extraordinary professional background. We do the same with Raf, and then we go into questions and discussions. So, Jacob, to you the microphone.
Yes, I'm a gynecologist and obstetrician long time. So that's a job switch, really. That's because I did a C-section with my wife, now CEO of Krijko, 16 years ago. And I did practice for 5 years more, and then she said, no, leave the business and come as a front runner by Krijko. That's what my job about. I'm a sportsman. I'm very happy with I saw just the golden shirts here, the golden medals of the Dutch in Sochi. I'm a real sportsman, and they soccer and running, the marathon of New York and Boston and whatsoever, sailing, so I'm a real sportsman. That's why also we have a sports book now for free to play also. And there we have special plans also for the marketing in the future. I'm very happy that we started last week ago with free game, because lesson number 1 in the market, you all know better than I, that is lesson number 1, is be first in the market, and we are first with the free play. As a strategy of our company, we have in all our land-based casinos 21, you must be 21 to be allowed. In Holland is 18 years, so that's the law. For more than 20 years we have 21. In the online setting, we also are going to do a 21, and also for the free game. This morning the button was not ready because we are improving the site every day, building up, rising to the occasion. But in a few days, you must also for free play at our site sign that you are 21.
Thank you for the introduction, Jacob. Maybe a short introduction of you, Raf. Maybe starting with Unibet, because I think it's an interesting history.
Sure. So I was at Unibet from 2005 to 2008, so I still had some of the golden years. So I joined actually from Belgium. I was at a small company called Mr. Bookmaker, which was active in Belgium, France and Holland, online, mostly sports betting, which Unibet acquired in 2005 for I think £100 million or so. Some people did quite well. I was not one of the founders, unfortunately. So I moved to London. Worked in quite a few different areas and mostly in the Western European market. So I worked for Unibet running marketing for Belgium, Holland, France, mostly the old Mr. Bookmaker countries and also some other markets. Interesting time. Learned a lot. Unibet grew and I joined Unibet in 2005. I think in total across all offices there were just over 100 people. Now there are close to 1,000 people. So things have changed quite a bit. So it was quite fun, like massive growth obviously in the space in those years. Still .com periods, one license to cover all markets. Things get a little bit more complex these days. From Unibet I moved to EA. EA actually asked me to run their Pogo.com platform in Europe, like casual games. So I left Unibet 2008 to join EA. Ran Pogo for a bit over a year. And then EA acquired Playfish. And then they asked me to join Playfish to run marketing there. So I did that for a bit over a year. Left, became an independent consultant for mostly social and mobile game studios. Also worked for quite a few VCs. And then it was quite inspiring to work with all these startups, meet all these entrepreneurs. So decided to do my own thing together with two ex-Playfish people. So in 2011 we created Plumbee, social casino startup. We raised money from one of the VCs I worked with before. It's quite handy working as a consultant, you get a lot of contacts. And since then we've been doing rather well, I would think. So right now we are 55 people in London. Plumbee makes free-to-play casino games. And as you know, Endemol recently led our Series B round, raised in total 14 in that round, with 13 coming from Endemol. So it's quite exciting. Now we need to grow into the company that we pitched, but it's quite exciting. And also we have on the real money side, we have a joint venture with Unibet called Bonza Gaming. Bonza is a separate entity. They have their own CEO, their own offices, but they do what we call next-gen real money gaming. So they were one of the first companies allowed on Facebook in the UK to launch a real money app. They're also moving to mobile, obviously, right now. But Bonza is a separate entity. We own 50% and Unibet owns the other 50%.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for the introduction. I think today and tomorrow there have been a lot of sessions about social gaming, social gambling, social casino games. So I'd like to start with a question actually from a slightly different perspective, from the consumer's perspective. With a question to both Raf and Jacob. How do you think for the consumer will see, Raf, your product, or your product, your free-to-play product, Jacob? Because we can all talk about product, and a lot of people in the room are very good at this, but sometimes I wonder if for the consumer that is actually the same. Because for the consumer it may actually not be that clear if it is in social gaming or social gambling or real money gaming or pay-to-play gambling. There's a lot of confusion about the terminology. So I'd like to ask the question from, so Raf, when somebody plays on one of Plumbee's games, so what do you think the experience is as from a game and money perspective?
We never really had anyone being confused about our offering. We never had any questions about why can't I cash out my money. I think people are quite well aware of the existence of free-to-play games. And I think people also, because I think the platforms where you play on, right, we are still very much present on Facebook, but also on mobile. I think people know very much that what we offer are games, and I think specifically also, like, don't forget, most of our players are from the US, Australia, New Zealand. They don't really have, obviously, the same link with online gambling as, for example, people in the UK would have. So I think that's probably part of the reason. But also do think that the way these games are presented, it makes it very clear that this is not a real money app, and that there's no cash in or cash out.
Yeah, how does it work for you, Jacob? Because Krijko obviously is a brand. So they have 15 arcades, mainly in the center of the Netherlands. Correct me if I'm wrong. And people do know your brand and are used to go there and spend money and win money, or not?
Yes, I think our players, they want to play for money. I think that's for sure. But in the first week, now they were amazed that we are on the market. They know already. The website numbers, the guys visiting it got up with hundreds every day. So that's only in 1 week. That's very short, and we are not really ready yet. At first we intend to have only a desktop version of the free play, but I said no, must be mobile, and it is mobile for all the devices now. So that was really hard work. That was not easy. But I think next week we're starting, people can make accounts, and then yeah, we have more numbers, and then we can also give in a few months' time, we know which kind of games they play. We have 16, we added one. It was yesterday 15, it is now 16, we are adding more. So maybe in a few weeks or months we will know more about the numbers.
Yeah, and we talk about social. So obviously, Raf, you're published on Facebook. But for Jacob, this is completely different, because I guess your social element is with the audience sitting in some of your arcades and word of mouth. using your existing customer base to come and play online, use more to my local communities. You told me that Rotterdam, people like bingo, and other communities, they like other products. How does that translate to online, really?
Yes, Rotterdam is bingo. The bingo in Rotterdam is going well. I'm very curious which way it goes, but we don't have any experience in it. And when you turn on the switch, when the day it's allowed, a fully Dutch regulated market allows you to go online, and we switch the turn on, I know for sure that a lot is not working well. So that's why we're taking 1 year. Also with chatting with the players, which kind of games they want. The last 10 years, I think we lose a lot of money, because 30%, about 30% of our players, they are playing online somewhere. In Belgium, they have seen that also. The day it started, there was a cannibalization of your own players going elsewhere online. They lose in the first month 30%, but 15 returned, and the other 15, they are gone. The predictions are between 6 or 5 or 20% of players we lose, so that's also a reason why we must go also online. When we don't do it, and we lose the players.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Jacob. I think interesting, land-based, so offline, bricks and clicks, bricks and mortar, many terms always flying in right now. What you said before, Raf, actually was quite interesting. You said our user experience for our product is actually more close to land-based. Can you explain that a little bit?
It's not necessarily the user experience. I think it's more the mindset of people. I think if you play social free-to-play casino games, it's obviously only about entertainment, because there is no element of winning cash, right? Well, if you look at how most online gambling companies are positioned, it's really all about hard gambling. It's all about cash and sign-up bonus. The tone of voice is quite hard. It's not very fun and pleasant. It's not like come and play a fun game with us and share it with your friends. I think the mindset of our players is much closer to the mindset of people going to like a big casino resort in Vegas, where it's about gambling, it's about playing slots and whatnot, but it's also about having fun, having a good time, going to a nice restaurant, a nice bar, go to the swimming pool. That mindset is much closer to what social gamers are looking for than I think with online gambling. I think that's also the reason why most of the deals so far between gambling companies and social game companies have been between land-based operators or companies that have a deep involvement in land-based.
Which are successful ones, do you think? Which ones?
Yeah, definitely.
Which ones?
I mean, obviously IGT and Double Down is the #1 story, but also Caesars, Playtika, and a couple of other acquisitions which then folded into Playtika. Aristocrat is doing very well since the Product Madness deal. So I think it's interesting that companies that were maybe a bit perceived as the old world, they're not the online operators, they're actually the traditional slots manufacturers and land-based casinos and resort owners are the ones actually nailing it so far in social. And I think it's because the mindset is much closer than for online gambling operators.
I think mindset is a good point, but also money. So if you see the enormous amounts they shelled out for acquisitions,
I think
how quick will they earn that back? So what is?
It's like if you look, for example, the Double Down deal, which is the deal that triggered a lot of other deals, right? So that was a 500 million deal, including the earnout. I think the upfront was, I don't know, Melissa probably knows the numbers better, but I think 275 upfront and retention bonuses and earnout. When that deal happened, a lot of people, including the analysts covering IGT, said like, these guys are crazy, like this is based on nothing, this is crazy multiples. Right now, I think everyone will agree that it's a fantastic deal. It's actually quite a cheap deal. I think the deal right now represents, I think, multiple of 4 on EBITDA for a company that is still growing, for a company that basically is driving growth at IGT, which is, as we know, not a small company. Double Down is now doing $280 million a year top line. It's very, very profitable, and is still leading the industry. So I think that deal was, with the benefit of hindsight, very, very cheap for them. And I think probably Caesars did an even better deal, right? I mean, they spent less than $150 million on Playtika, which is doing roughly the same numbers as Double Down.
Yeah. No, I think the numbers I think we're learning more every day. But also Jacob, from your perspective, so obviously you have launched now with the eye to post-regulated market in 2015 or whenever that happens.
Yeah, I think.
What's the model behind that?
Yeah, we have to find out. I think we have a lot of players. They are coming because not only they are learning, but they love the atmosphere. And I think they play because they want to play roulette together or whatsoever. So I don't know if we lose a lot of players. Nobody knows. We'll see then. But there are new possibilities. There are possibilities with the sports book. I've seen it in London, in ICE, in the Hippodrome. There was the game Chelsea against Manchester City, and Chelsea, home team from London, they won 1-0. Everybody was excited there. They couldn't gambling or not, but I see our players on Sunday, where the soccer games, they go away, they walk in and out, especially Turkish people or other people. They play on Galatasaray or other teams. They go away, come back, and in the future they can do it in our sports corner. We must find out if it's, and I think we do. A lot of, maybe 5 of our casinos, there's a possibility to have a new interaction and new possibilities in such a town. We'll see. We discussing it, new models for attracting, and also the interaction between our land base and the online, and new interaction models, and we'll see.
Yeah. So again, Jacob's business as well as Raf's business indirectly is linked to regulation and double down. Obviously, in the end, the business model is linked to regulation. But concretely, Raf and Jacob, how does regulation influence your business today?
I think it's a very broad question. Obviously, in social gaming, a lot of people say it's not regulated, which is technically not true, right? We have to adhere to all the existing laws and regulations that are in place: consumer protection, data protection, privacy, advertising rules in the different markets. But obviously, we're not falling under any gambling legislation, because what we offer is not gambling. Obviously, like, it's a games in the same way that nobody would feels that there's a need to regulate Farmville or Need for Speed or Call of Duty. So we are part of the games industry, the video games industry, much more than the gambling industry. And obviously that means that you can do things a bit differently. Like, we don't have to submit our games to a regulator. So that means we can iterate a lot faster than, for example, in real money. We see the difference definitely now with our friends at Bonsai Gaming. Lots of ideas, but a lot of these things take time. Like, even if the regulator approves them, it takes time, because these guys don't really move at the speed that the game studio moves. So I think speed, iteration, having creative way of doing things, I think that's definitely the big difference.
Yeah, thank you, Raf, quite clear. And for you, Jacob, so did the Dutch regulator call you and say, hey, Jacob,
now in
it's
the
too
first,
early.
okay, 1 point extra, and the first we have to do with the tax regulation, 29%. That's, in my opinion, much too high. We'll see. And the proposed maybe 20% in online gaming. There's a difference. For the big guys, the Unibets, etc., and the Paddy Powers, the William Hills, they go from very low tax. When they come maybe to 20, we'll see. That's one. In the gambling industry, we have, for the arcades, different rules from the Dutch state casino. Maybe that is going to change. We want to change that. But maybe that's for later on, in the years to come. 2018, they say, we have different, that's for that. But now for the free game, there's, you can earn nothing, no money in, no money out. You don't can buy extra points, because you get points every day, new. When you played the points, it's over for the day, and the next day you can get new points. So no money in, no money out. So that's gaming, that's not really gambling. And as an extra, we use the 21 rule. That's our company policy. That's the only one in Holland to have it, the only one. And that's really our point. That's the player protection. They call it today responsible gaming. And that's why we do it. That's a real point. We don't say it, we do it. And also now and in the future.
Great, thank you, Jacob. So we are almost nearing the end, not really nearing the end of the session, but there's two topics we would like to bring up, actually specifically to the Dutch market. Krijko obviously is a known Dutch brand in a specific part of the Netherlands. Plumbee is not a known brand, but with your association with Endemol, so specifically for the Dutch market, what do you think the usage of their brands? So what is the plan behind that, and how will that have an impact on the Dutch market?
I can't really comment on specifically the Dutch market, which was not really a key consideration for the deal. I think the deal made sense for Endemol because they are moving not away from TV production, obviously, but they obviously are sitting on a lot of brands, Deal or No Deal, The Money Drop, Wipeout. They also have Mr. Bean. And I think most TV production companies, not just Endemol, but also look at Fremantle and a couple of others, they want to leverage and do much more with those brands themselves, rather than basically just giving them to whatever Channel 4 or RTL in Holland and say like, hey guys, we can make a TV show for you. And obviously games and gaming is an obvious extension. These games and these brands have already been proven very successful in that space. Right now, I think most of these companies make money through licensing, so they go to either a gambling operator or a games studio and say like, you can use our brand in return for X% or X amounts of euros or pounds, which is not a bad model, but still, if a game works, if it becomes really successful, the TV production companies, the brand owners still only make a fraction of what the game studio or the gambling operator makes, and they want to obviously get a bigger share of the pie. And I think it's not the only company that made a deal like this. Fremantle a couple of years ago acquired a game studio called Ludia in Canada. I think for Endemol, obviously Endemol hasn't acquired Plumbee, just to be very clear. They took a minority stake, but for them it's a strategic deal. It makes sense to link themselves with a company that has experience, has a good team, has proven success in the market, to really leverage their brands going forward. And obviously, the Dutch market is not unimportant, right? Specifically what's going to happen going forward. It's a nice sizable market. Credit card penetration is high, penetration of smartphones, internet connected mobile devices very high. So it's an interesting market, and having those brands and integrating those brands in our games will definitely help to take a bigger chunk of the Dutch market as well.
Exactly, so I guess we'll be seeing some of the TV content from Dutch TV in one or more gambling or gaming platforms in the future, maybe even on the Krijko platform.
Yeah, we'll see. The government, they will discuss it Friday internally, the ministers, and then in 1 or 2 months from now it's coming in Parliament. It will be a big issue. We were a little bit surprised. In Belgium, the market opened 1.5 years ago, and only the land-based operators, the casinos and the arcades, were allowed to have a license there. They have a lot of experience with gambling. They have experience with red and yellow cards and etc. The whole business. In Denmark, it was different. In Denmark, it was open, and there were also TV companies and others joined the market, but a lot of them they are already out, because when you invest in totally maybe $100 million in advertisement and marketing in the first half year, you never get it back. That's my opinion. So let's say, let's sponsor soccer, Ajax and Feyenoord and the soccer games, let's do it. To earn that back, that will be a big task. It depends on the gap. Let us know, we get for sure a player certification. That's for sure. The technical device, we don't know all yet, but it will be a little bit like Denmark. And there in Denmark, when you know the gap, you know what the amount of money between in and out, and then every starts. But so we were a little bit surprised that it is possible for companies who have no experience at all in the gambling sector are allowed. They have not even experience with one player who is a problem player or addicted player whatsoever. And when they get 100,000 players every week, how did they manage it? So that will be, in my opinion, the next months in Holland, in the media, but also in the parliament, an issue, a real issue, and it's also an important one.
Thank you, Jacob. I'd like to move to the last question to the panel here before we move to maybe questions from the room. And then we can compare notes in a few years. So Raf, in 5 years, where do you think you will be with your business? And Jacob too, so whoever wants to kick off that question. It's a tough one, but you know.
Well, you know, our long-term vision is that we feel that there is a room to disrupt the digital casino space at large. So not just free to play, but also real money. I think it's, if we look at online gambling right now, we know there's a lot of big multi-billion-dollar companies, but we still feel that they're missing a trick, or maybe more than one trick. We feel that the translation from what I think is a very successful land-based model to online is still quite poor, both from a product level, from a entertainment level. We feel that we can bring digital gambling back to its entertainment roots by focusing on a couple of things. Focusing on content, which is making better products that are more fun, innovative, that have features that obviously we learned in the video games industry. By focusing on technology, we have the advantage that we could start from a clean slate. I think a lot of the gambling companies, including some companies that we like and respect very much, have the disadvantage that they started 10, 15 years ago, and they basically are sitting on big legacy platforms that require hundreds of engineers to just keep the thing in the air. So we don't have that. So technology, I think, will be one of the key drivers for success and growth going forward. And lastly, I think we're almost call it business model agnostic, to actually have that content and technology, but allow different audience segments in different markets to play in different ways. We know that there's a huge market out there of people who like casino games, be it bingo or slots or poker or whatnot. We know that there's a huge group of people who like to play those games for free or for virtual currency. And we also know that there's a big group of people who actually like full money wagering. They like to bet money to win more money. I think the successful company in, say, 5 years will have fantastic content, fantastic products, fantastic games, very smart technology that allows you to be available across platforms of today and tomorrow. So not just iPhones, but maybe also wearable devices, glass, smart TVs, and also offer that content to different people in different ways. Free to play, real money wagering in different markets. And that's where we see ourselves playing a role in. So that's also why we made the investment in Bonsai. It's part of the puzzle for us to become that company that can do more than just being a successful game studio.
I think that's an interesting story. In 5 years, let's speak and compare notes. And I hope you achieved many of those. Jacob, what's your dream for the next 5 years?
For my personally, I'm a sportsman in 5 years from now. That's for sure. For the company, our keyword is flexibility. We are flexible in the future. Now we have a flexible platform. We own the content. We can plug in a new game when the API and everything is right. We own the content, and we don't to make a lot of that other partners, the affiliates and the game suppliers ask too much revenue shares and whatsoever. So that's important. Our keyword for the next 5 years is flexibility. The landscape will be totally different. We'll see it now in Holland, the Novomatic guys and others coming, and you see new companies and taking over, and the online. I think the landscape in 5 years from now, the casinos are there, the arcades are there, they will be integrated. I hope also that the sports book, etc., that we have a totally new, I hope, responsible system. And as a doctor, I say it also, that we care for the players. That is a key issue, and that might be a bright future.
Very clear, very clear. Again, let's talk in 3, 4, 5 years. See where we are. And so we're nearing the end of the session here, I guess, in another 5 minutes, but we won't stop until we've answered some questions.
Mr. Greco, you say we own the content. Does it mean that you develop yourself, or that you buy, or how do you secure the content and make sure it's yours?
No, I mean with that we plug it in yes or no. That's our decision. It's not that our platform suppliers or whatever decide which kinds of games we use, and we can't change it, omdat the contract is there. We are talking with all the guys in ICE last week. That's the Bullies, the ICTs, the WMS, everybody. Maybe we don't get games from them. Maybe we don't want them, but we want to discuss it. But it must be a fair deal that we also ourselves can earn money, and we don't get a revenue share what's much too high.
I think
That's right.
Hi, question, Raf. You mentioned in the beginning that we've seen the big acquisitions in the US, land-based casinos purchasing social gaming companies. What is your view for Europe? Do you see similar trends? Land-based casinos, as you say, they understand the trick better. Do you see them acquiring social gaming companies, or do you see they will develop these for scratch or B2B relationships?
The landscape is quite different. Like, first of all, I would say like most social casino companies are global companies, right? So we are based in London, but 70% of my revenue is from the US, right? So it's not because we're based in London that we would be only interesting for a European company and not for a US company. Also, Playtika was based in Israel. So I think the notion of where companies are based, I think in this industry is a bit less relevant, like regardless if you're based in US or Europe, I think that doesn't really matter that much. I think from a potential buyer's perspective, the market in Europe is quite different, right? Like a lot of the big casino players, land-based casino players are government owned, like Holland Casino, Casinos Austria. There are not really the same kind of companies that you will find in the US with Caesars, MGM, like big resort owners. So it's a bit different. What we've seen in Europe is Bwin Party is probably the one that did the biggest deal. They invested 50 million euros in win.com, team in Israel. But it's not really an acquisition. They kind of invested in that company or created a business unit and gave them enough cash. So I think in Europe the buyer landscape is probably not as sexy as in the US. I think I can see some more deals coming out of Asia, both from like you have a couple of big gambling operators, but also there's a lot of massive game studios and game companies like Tencent, Gree, and so on. So from a land-based casino point of view, I think Europe is maybe not the greatest market for social casino.
Any more questions? I have a question. It's interesting. In the beginning of your speech, you said that you felt that the online guys were cannibalizing business, right? And that's because they can play online, even though they're still your current customers. It's interesting that you see, I guess, my question is, do you see that there's a finite wallet that these people have, so when they're not in your casino, therefore it's money that you're losing? Or is it that there's a bigger wallet and they're now prevalent back to your casino? Because there's a debate whether online actually contributes more to the land-based or is actually cannibalizing. It's interesting that you put it as cannibalizing.
That's a very important, In Belgium they know, because there's a registration system for the land-based and for the online. And there are companies who have both. So they can see what happens. We have no registration yet for the land-based, so we don't know. But we know our players in the key towns where we are already sometimes for more than 30 or 40 years. We are there popular in a lot of cities because they know us around. And I hope they come back.
My question, I guess, is have you felt that the revenue per player has gone down since online has become more popular?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. There are players who don't come with us and play online, that's right. Especially poker. I think especially we don't go in the poker business because that's settled. You can play a free game, but we don't do the poker in 1 year from now. But we have lost players, sure, for sure.
Interesting.
We want them back.
I
think that's a good one to close the session, unless there's a quick last question, because we're running out of time. Before we close the session, first of all, thanks everybody for coming today. Thanks Melissa for hosting us. Thanks Casual Connect for having us. We continue after a short break with the regulatory aspects of social gaming and social gambling. As well as this afternoon at 2 o'clock, there's more insight from GVH Gaming and social casino gaming by Eric here. 1 o'clock? 1 o'clock. So if you're interested in the Netherlands, today is the day. Thank you.
Well, and the next session too is about